I have a problem with, and that if you apply to the board.
What's your point of order, Senator Mopai?
Madam Speaker, you know for a fact there is no point of order. It's one of those frivolous attempts to derail debate.
Let him raise the point of order.
Madam Speaker, I want Senator Sifuna to withdraw and apologize. Though the much I know about this house is a house of registrators. This is a house of debate. I have not captured any student in the front of this house, so nobody is being taught. So as much as I have a lot of respect for Senator Sifuna is debating just like any other registrar in the house. Also, I don't think whether there is any student in this house to be taught.
Senator Sifuna.
Yeah, Honorable Speaker, I'll proceed to make the point that I was making. My next point about the deposit, Honorable Speaker, the provisions of the regulations are that if you pay that deposit, for instance, and your application is rejected by the board, do you know the regulations say that they don't give you back your money? They take it into something that they are calling a voluntary savings account. I was not giving the deposit so that I save money. I wanted a house. So if you are unable to allocate this unit to me, give me back my money. I can go and do other things with it. Regulation number on interest, Honorable Speaker, they have set interest on that loan that I talk about between 9% and 3%. Now, let us come to the regulation on consent to sell. Consent to sell. That, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, if you buy this unit and you run into financial ruin, for instance, you are unable to keep up with the payments and you want to sell it, you have to ask for permission to sell the unit. You have to ask for permission from this same board. And, Honorable Speaker, the problem there is that if it is tied to another regulation on default, if you default for 2 consecutive months, the board takes back possession of that unit. That is what the regulations you want us to pass are saying. Honorable Speaker, as far as I know, as a student of law and somebody who understands the Constitution, you cannot interfere with property rights, my ability to own and dispose property, by frivolous regulations such as this. If I run into financial ruin, now, for instance, Honorable Speaker, a member of the family is diagnosed with a serious disease like cancer, we are all raising money. I have a unit sitting here, and we need money. You are telling me I need to go to somebody else to get consent to sell that house because of extraneous circumstances. And by the way, these regulations also provide that all decisions of this board, you have to, again, ask for what they call review from the same board. And that provision on review of the decisions of the board also goes ahead to specify the only grounds you can raise a point of review with the board. What sort of regime is that? What sort of regime is that? So therefore, Honorable Speaker, I want to submit that this particular provision on consent to sell a unit is unconstitutional. And then they require that you can only apply for that consent to sell after 5 years of completion of payment. They also regulate the price. The regulations regulate the price that at that point when they have told you now you can sell, they have fixed a price for you that you can only sell that unit at prevailing market rates. If I am able to convince Halwale to pay 10 million on a unit that is the prevailing market rate is 5 million, you will tell me no. This violates the concept of willing buyer, willing seller. Perhaps Halwale likes this unit so much and there's enough demand on the unit, they are willing to pay more. How can you tell me that I cannot get more money if I am able to persuade Halwale, Senator Halwale, to pay more? So therefore, Honorable Speaker, I personally have big problems with this affordable housing scheme. I thought it was very poorly thought out. It is actually punitive on the small population of people who actually have a payslip in this country. I was in Funyula with the Honorable Oundo in Busia County. In the middle of Busia, not even at the town, in the town, somewhere deep there in the rural areas. Yes. Yeah, I saw they are building 12 floors. And Honorable Speaker, the good thing is that you come from the same region as I do. Where I come from, Honorable Speaker, if your chicken cannot get into that place, you also cannot get in there and sleep there. Because there is no chicken that lives on 12th floor. And this is, we live with chicken, you know, for us. They are considered family. So I was looking at those units in Funyula. I was wondering, who are these people? Who are the people who are targeted to stay in these units? And maybe Senator from Busia, the Honorable K. Omtata, can shed light and tell us who are those units meant for. And when you speak to the people in that area, how they wish all that concrete was a hospital, how they wish all that concrete was a school, how they wish, Honorable Speaker, that concrete was something that they actually needed. Because the problem with this affordable housing scheme is that it does not prioritize our needs. The reason why somebody would be given a unit in Mukuru and go back to the slum is because the priority of that person is to eat. The priority of that person is education. The priority of that person is healthcare. But because this government knows why it prioritizes houses, they will tell you, Honorable Speaker, the people supplying material for that construction, the people supplying sand, the people supplying cement, they are more than happy to build those things. It doesn't matter whether people will ever own them or live with them, because they will already have been paid and they will disappear. That is all that this affordable housing is about. It's about making money for cronies of people in power.
30 seconds.
The reasons I oppose strongly. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Majority Leader.
Dispatch, Chief. Oh, okay, it's coming. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to also make my contribution to this report by our Committee on Delegated Legislation. Madam Speaker, I begin a troubled man because I've never heard so much misinformation, and perhaps I don't know whether that is a place to comment, but I'll lose my trail of thoughts if I comment there. Therefore, I want to first stick to the substance of the report that is before us. Then maybe later, if I get an opportunity, I will direct my colleagues to where to get the correct information about many of the things which they said, which is information that is publicly available if you were to seek the right information. But you never know why people will choose to get the wrong one. Madam Speaker, I'm troubled because if you read this report, it is clearly brought out to us that these regulations are already approved by this House. So I don't know why delegated legislation will want us to debate them. Because you have told us in paragraph, let me just read the correct paragraph, Senator Mofire. Then perhaps you can guide me on what I need to do with my submissions. Paragraph 3 of your introduction, that the regulations were published on the 9th of July 2025, and thereafter they were received by the Senate for tabling on 11th July 2025, which time was within the 7-day sitting of a referral of an instrument to Parliament as stipulated within Section 11. Then, paragraph 4, you remind us that therefore these regulations were laid on the 16th.
Order, Senator Omtata, this is not your house. Why are you crossing the man? Thank you, thank you.
I don't want to be disrupted by Senator Omtata. And so, regulation, paragraph 4 of that introduction, Mofire, your committee is telling us that after the 16th of July, in accordance with Section 59 of the Affordable Housing Act, number 2 of 2025, to be approved or rejected by Senate within 15 days of sitting. This is a law that we passed here. And we said that within 15 days of sitting, of receipt by the Senate, which days are set to lapse on the 11th of September 2025. Today, Madam Speaker, is the 25th, meaning that on the 11th, whether with a vote or without, we already passed these regulations. Therefore, what we are doing is just a conversation. about what we think about housing. No wonder so many political statements are just being made. Because it has nothing to do with the report, whether we reject. In fact, I hope that there's no intention to take this to a vote. Because, Madam Speaker, eventually, you're taking it to a vote so that what happens? This report is already approved. And that is where we need to begin, because our committee chairpersons, the reason why you have a liaison committee is where there are emergencies such as this, where we have passed laws that have set timelines on ourselves. Like this law, we passed it here ourselves. And we said within 15 days of regulations, 15 sitting days, not just calendar days, sitting days, regulations such as this will stand approved. I expected a diligent committee would have led us to either consider those regulations or, at the very least, then bring a motion for extension of time. Though I'm not sure whether even that will stand, because at the end of the day, you can't pass a motion to amend statute which you've already put into law. It's very unfortunate, Madam Speaker, that we never got opportunity. Secondly, Madam Speaker, I'd wish to say that these regulations don't meet or serve the purpose for which they were intended to. I'd wish that when you have a matter as important as this, that our committees would lead us as a house to be alive to present issues, because housing is a very important project. Every political formation that I know, at least those that are worth their salt, had housing as a manifesto item, both the Azimio and the Kenya Kwanza. And not just in this election. From as early as 2002, if you read the NAC manifesto, housing was proposed there. Therefore, this is not just a simple exercise of passing regulations and saying, you go and do as you wish. It is in matters such as this that I expect of our committees, when you're implementing programs that are of high importance to the people that we represent, that you lead us into a conversation. From what I know from history, Madam Speaker, many times back in the day when you consider the formulas, when we considered, I can't recall immediately off the top of my mind other important things, where committees have actually led us into a sitting in this house with the committee of the whole and told us that, good people, ladies and gentlemen, here is a proposal that has come from the executive. What are your thoughts about it? It's not just something that you tuck yourself away as a committee, consider them, and come back to us. You're not bound by regulation, but it's the moral, it's the diligent thing to do, because each of us, in one way or the other, is affected by this program. There are many questions that I have about this program, Madam Speaker. I want to know, Madam Speaker, for example, I would expect that by the time the Cabinet Secretary and the PS and the State Department and this board that is being set up come to us, that at least I'd have a report that since I passed this law 1 year ago and have been paying diligently, Madam Speaker, how many of those units have been built in each and every part of this country? Because I have to register a complaint as Senator for Kericho, for example, that all I can see are hardly 300-400 units that are not even ready. And I see occasionally here in Nairobi, thousands of houses. I don't know in which part of the country. Are we citizens? Are we children of a lesser God? Madam Speaker, I wanted to have that conversation here with the people that are running this program to know why certain counties will be at 70-80% completion of projects while others are still 20-30%. I just passed by, for example, where this project is being implemented in Kericho town. I think they are building only 400 houses in a county of a population of more than 1 million people, many of whom understand the importance of this project, Madam Speaker, because, and I'm glad because there are people who are saying in their parts of the country they don't need the houses. It will be important that you put it on record and donate to us who are in need. Our land is high-value agriculture land, and many people continue to build houses on that land. I would be more than happy if I centralize my people in one place so that I remain with land to secure their food and farming, Madam Speaker. Therefore, needs vary. There are those who consider this, that it is not useful to the people that they represent in this house. I wish, Madam Speaker, that we would get that opportunity so that we give a commitment, including in writing, and say, please, the request of my constituents is that we think we can uptake 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000. Then others can write and say, we don't need these things. take it elsewhere. Madam Speaker, the implementation of this program has not been as transparent in terms of allocation of units that are being built across the country as we expected when we passed these regulations. Madam Speaker, and I say this with a heavy heart, because I know if you raise this conversation, many people will tell you, oh, you know, in your place, we don't have land to do this, and things such as those, Madam Speaker. But where is the engagement? Where is the diligence on the public officers that are running this program, that have gone to engage our county governments and said, provide for us alternative land? You may not have land where you're looking for, but at least I know every county government has land where they could point out and say, this is a good place where you set up this particular land. It's unfortunate, Madam Speaker, that as we speak here today, you drive down in certain counties, they are perhaps now doing their 20, 30,000 unit. Some of us are at 400, 500 units, Madam Speaker. That is the expectation that I had of this committee, that at least they will provide for me an opportunity to look back and say 1 year down the line, after we pass these regulations, this law, Madam Speaker, what has been the implementation process? I would have expected a blow-by-blow justification of each regulation to understand the empirical calculation, Madam Speaker, for example, on this very important proposal that is being made to provide affordable credit to those that want to purchase the housing units but don't have the 5% deposit, Madam Speaker. I'd wish to know what is the consideration in terms of the proposal that we are being given, 3% for those that earn less than 20,000, persons earning below 20,000, 6% for those that earn between 20,000 and 140, and 9% for those that earn above 140,000, Madam Speaker. Sorry, I note the change of Speaker. It's now Mr. Speaker, the Senator for Bomet, or is it Sigor? I know Sigor is part of Bomet. Mr. Speaker, I would have expected that this State Department takes us through blow by blow on the request that they have. Kenyans that have come to them and have said, we'd wish to purchase these housing units. However, the much I can raise is X amount. Therefore, allow me to borrow up to this amount, Mr. Speaker, and therefore this regulation is being provided. I would have wished to know, this issue of allocation has been canvassed, and I wish my whip was here, Senator Boni Alwale, because I've heard him say, and I think another senator also who's contributed has said the same, that there is some houses that were allocated to footballers. I don't know which footballers they are talking about. Why do people react to social media conversations? I expect of you as a legislator, not just a whip, at the very least as a legislator, to go into details sometimes and understand things beyond the conversations that happen in our newspapers. I listened to the President keenly when he was addressing the Harambee Stars players. And he told them, out of the windfall that you have gotten out of your wins, I am willing to top up something for you so that you pay the deposits. So I don't know where this conversation about donations that are being done. It's not possible to donate a house. I wish my whip was here so that I educate him a bit. I am afraid that sometimes he gets the wrong information from social media and runs to Parliament to speak about it. I listened to the teachers. I met my teachers from Kericho when they left State House that day. And they were so happy because they were castigating me as their representative, and they are saying, Senator, how comes you've never told us how we can purchase these units? At least today, we have been explained to how we purchase these units, because as people that lead in contribution, despite the very humble, meager income of teachers, and I say this with a lot of pride because I was raised by a teacher. My mother was a teacher. And therefore, I know what a dent to her payslip would have meant. It would have expected that at least she and her family will benefit. And that is a conversation that the teachers had at State House that day, because I listened to them say of the President, can you at least, now that we have accepted and we are part of the people that are funding this program, can we be prioritized so that even if I don't pay for those that are nearing retirement, my family can carry on and have a housing unit? There is justification for this, Mr. Speaker. If you follow the UN Habitat statistics, they point out quite clearly that by 2050, just a quarter of a century from now, 60% of the entire population of the earth will be living in urban areas. If we don't plan for the future, where do we want our people to live? There's good justification for this. Therefore, there is no conversation about whether this is important. I believe every knowledgeable person appreciates the place and the need for these housing units, Madam Speaker. It broke my heart listening to young people from Kibera the day we went to sign the bill, the affordable housing bill in State House. And they said, I think it was a community mobilizer, Mr. Speaker, I don't know if you're there. He said that part of the reason why they want these housing units now is because young kids grow up and by the age of 2 or 3, you cannot even teach them about sex because they see it in their homes. They live in one-roomed house and says, please give us some decency. There is good justification for a program such as this. The only problem that I take out of all these regulations is that the questions that are being raised by our colleagues on this floor, I have to say, many of them, Mr. Speaker, are extremely genuine, and there is good justification for them as representatives of the people to have sufficient answers. Yet that opportunity hasn't been provided. I don't know this constitutional order that we got ourselves into, Mr. Speaker. That is neither parliamentary, neither can you call it fully presidential. Because you have people here that you are told they are committee chairpersons, therefore sometimes they speak and answer as if they are government. And there are those on the minority side which sometimes you confuse and say that they are in the opposition, because to the best of my knowledge, there is no opposition in government in parliament. It is majority and minority. Mr. Speaker, the distinction of what the Constitution appreciates is that there is an executive and legislature. The question that has never been answered to me up to date, what is the nexus between the executive and the legislature in terms of policy appreciation, policy critiquing? After we have passed a law such as this, and it has been operational for 1 year, where is the opportunity beyond the question and statements time that we sometimes get here with ministers? Where is the opportunity for me to critique and say, okay, we gave you a law, how have you implemented it? My constituents are saying this and that. I don't believe, Mr. Speaker, that it was the intention of the drafters of our Constitution for us to exist as silos, that we can never interact, that we can never provide good, credible feedback to the executive, Mr. Speaker, on programs such as this. I want an opportunity to sit down with C.S. Alice Wahome, with P.S. Hinga, and give my thoughts about what my constituents are saying about this program. It's not just the absence. It includes things such as location, Madam Speaker. It is also important, I must record the appreciation, by the way, that there are diligent colleagues who follow these things, but unfortunately, it's not everybody that can do that. When it was first rumored that the approximate cost of a housing unit, I don't know what amount. I remember one of my colleagues here telling me that this is almost 10,000 shillings higher than what other private entities. I think it was Senator Chute, actually. Yeah, thank you for being reminded about that. And we went with him, we drove all the way to Mombasa Road, compared, and we shared that feedback with the PS and said, you must review your rates because at least people such as Edoman, that gentleman that is building on, what is it called, Great Wall, has bought the land. For you, you have not bought any land. Most of the land that these housing units are being built on is public land. Therefore, it should be cheaper. So I want an opportunity to ask the executive, what is the approximate cost of what it takes you to buy this unit? To build this unit. I also want to know, what are the benefits of the economies of scale? If you're buying cement in thousands, because you've been given an opportunity to supply into a public program, therefore there are benefits to the economies of scale. That